when you make these songs and you have like a performance, you have to go on stage. What's your expectation, right? You want to go on stage and people already know your song and they know how to, even if they don't know it. Like you start playing the song and you start singing, right? It's easy for them to catch the vibe, easy for them to catch the hook and whatever. And once people can catch that on stage, like while you're performing, once your audience can get that, it's easy for them to sing along and just bob to it. And that would also help you as an artist because it helps with your energy on stage. But while you're performing and you see nobody singing your song, like it's going to kill your morale. Like you just come be like, I sing this thing for these people, but like nobody is moving. And that's why you see like songs that, you know, are big. You see artists that know these tricks, right? They make those kind of songs and then it's big. And before they go out, like they go on stage, people already know the songs. So once they get there or the beat starts playing, you hear like the energy is already like, increased. So you have to put all these things at the back of your mind. But don't also forget that your you have to consider a lot of things. You make
Sorry to use the energy.
yes, yeah. Let's communicate.
I think you've touched on something that is very important, even though you lost quickly over it.
Okay.
But I want to bring you back a little bit, as per the actual functions of a producer, or the functions that you perform as a producer, because now you introduce yourself, music
Yeah,
producer, record producer. What does it exactly mean?
I'm getting
Right?
there.
So some people say, especially now in contemporary times, producer makes the beats and delivers the beats. End of story. That's one definition of who a producer is. Another definition of who a producer is someone who goes further, right, to direct or supervise the making of the record. Right?
Yeah,
And most of the things you've been saying are outside what most people think a producer is, which is just make beats and move on. Right? So I don't know whether you want to take a second to kind of, emphasize the difference between those roles and how you play them.
yeah. I was getting to that. So I was actually like picking on like the topic because going by the topic, making music that matters, right? So I'm trying to like connect everything together. I mean, everybody knows that producers. A lot of people, like you said, would think producers just make beats and then it's done. It's actually way more than that. I consider myself a composer and arranger. Like, I'm part of like the arrangement and everything. Um, there's a lot of work that we do, you know, behind once after the recording is done, before the recording is done. It's like a whole lot of work. But as a producer, I mean, I've already like trained myself in making music. Like my experience is like years, so many years, like so many years in the game, and what I've done so far is I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to put, but like I have a basic understanding of what I'm trying to create and how I want it to affect people, how I want it to connect to people. Like it's just this thing, like your instincts. Like you need to know how to like tap into your instincts. Like you need to know that this thing I'm making is for this, and then you also need to know how to know the right people that that can jump on that to help you take that which you're making, because what we are doing is actually like a collective effort. It's not a one-person thing. As a producer, you can make beats and then it's done. You still need artists to jump on it, right? And finding the right artist is very, very key. So personally for me, I'm very, very, very careful with the people I work with. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, this guy, if I don't work with you, I don't want to work with you or whatever, doesn't mean that you're not good or you're not a great artist. It just means that I have like a direction. I have like what I'm trying to achieve. I have what I'm trying to like, the kind of impact I'm trying to like lay. And I feel like this person doesn't exactly convey or cannot like carry what I'm giving to him, right? Yeah, compatibility basically. That's the word. So I'm I kind of like take my time, and that's where I came in like with the whole conversation of just understanding, trying to get to know, like having relationship with this person. I like to get into their brain sometimes, and because when you have that, then you now know like, okay, this is what we should be making. This is what you should be making, and the artist can come. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, yeah, what's the idea behind this, and then he explains it, and then I'm able to convey that, those ideas, those thoughts into like what I'm trying to make. We already know like producers, we make beats. I can tell you that, oh, you can put your kicks here, you can put your snare, you can put your this, but we're not doing that right now because I'm not here to teach you how to make a beat, right? I'm teaching you, I'm trying to like just show you, oh, I made a song with, okay, let me use an example. I made a song last year, which is titled Feeling, myself, Ladipo, and Buju. And the success of that song had an impact on everybody that was involved in making that song, right? So one of the things we did before we even made that song, we had picked, so early in the year of 2021, that was in January, Ladipo had come to the studio, like he would do, like, because we link up sometimes and make music. He came, and I was like, oh, he's planning to work on his project, an EP, this year. That was like last year, and like, if I have any beats, I should play stuff for him. Yeah, I played him a couple of beats, from my archive, and so what he did was pick, some beats that, appealed to him, that I felt like, okay, I like this one, I like this one. And while he was doing that, I was also taking notice of, what's the kind of beats they're interested in more. Because when you know all of that, then you know what's like fashion for like this artist and this other person. And we did that, and we started recording, like doing like, some recordings. And that went on for like January, February. I think it was in March. We finally had like that record with Buju. And so what happened was Buju came into the studio to record, but it wasn't even feeling that he came to record. He came to like record like a different song. And we did that. And then just while we were chilling in the studio, it was like, oh, let's play. I suggested we should play one of the beats that Ladipo had picked that Ladipo also liked. And myself, I also liked the beat. I just felt like since Buju is here, we could play it for him. And, as soon as I played the beat, it was like Buju instantly just connected to it and stood up. And we're able to like capture that moment, because for some artists, they would want to take that beat back, and try to vibe, listen to it. And so you need to be able to capture a moment. Like if you feel like there's something there, you need to be able to identify it and know that I feel like this guy is in his bag right now, and is in that moment. Like, let me throw this thing out for him, if he likes it. And then I was able to identify that. I put it out, and he was like, yo. And instantly he just went. He was like, he wants to record what's in his head at that moment. And then, we recorded it. As soon as he dropped the hook, we had not even done any other thing on the song. Like, the part not even put his verse or anything. As soon as Buju laid his hook, we knew that was the jam. Like, that jam, I didn't think it was going to go number one, but I just thought that song was going to make an impact. It was going to do something in my career. So for me, I felt like it was going to make a statement. Being that the beat itself, I was already very confident about the beat. I knew that it was different. It wasn't like what you hear out there, right? And that's the approach I take in, making music. For every time I'm trying to create something, I'm trying to do what somebody hasn't done. I'm trying to set like a standard right? So, because one thing I've observed is when you create something and set a standard, it's like everybody's trying to follow that. Everybody's trying to, do that, and it kind of like keeps, you in the conversation, keeps your name in conversation, and people are reaching out to you. They want to know how you did this. They want to learn, and sometimes there's a lot of pressure too. I won't lie. So, but you need to know when not to like, over, put a lot of pressure on yourself and just, let it flow. If it's not flowing, take a break. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I can ask you a question.
Yeah, feel free, and anybody can ask questions, please.
So you've raised an issue now,
Yeah.
which has always been on my mind,
Okay.
right? You see, the topic, making music that matters. In this context, I want to believe that matters cash-wise, right? Not just artistically, right? We all know that for pop music, which is the genre we're talking about,
Yeah.
right, there has to be an element of familiarity for that music to matter. If it doesn't sound to a degree familiar, then it's most likely to matter. Formula number one.
Yeah.
But now you've introduced something as your own method, which is to be innovative. So how do you strike a balance in making music that matters now between the requirements of the market for familiarity and your own personal goal of uniqueness, of something innovative, something different? Like you said, how do you strike that balance?
Okay, so my approach to, you know, like me creating is, yeah, in as much as what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to be innovative with it, right? There's still always something that makes it like very familiar. I don't ignore that because first of all, you have to recognize that nothing is new under the sun. Like nothing is totally new. There is something that you have to apply for you to get this, and it exists for you to. You can't say you need alphabets to like form a word, right? So like the alphabet say you need like individual numbers for you to get like a certain amount or something. So for me to like create what I'm creating, I still there's always a guide. So if we know I'm making like music for this genre, if it's afro-beat, afro-pop, or hip-hop, or whatever, there's still that element of all of that in there. It's just that what I now do is my own style is I try to bring different elements. The main, core element is like the hip hop. Say for example, like the feeling, it's still hip hop, right? But like then I'm bringing some elements from like R&B, like an R&B touch to it, and an EDM touch to it, and to just make something different. So you're hearing a hip hop song, but you're also hearing like other things in there that normally maybe a core hip hop producer won't do. It's just trying to go hard and give you like hard beats. And it's dope, you hear it. But then is that song going to break right mainstream? Like is it going to be big? Anything can happen in the industry, but a lot of the times, like if you're trying to connect to people, right? This guy is a hip hop artist. There's that common thing now that hip hop guys they make hits and all of that, right? So how are we trying to make a hit for this guy? Let's give him like a sound that first of all would attract people. Let's get somebody that can kill the hook and do something, and then this guy can come in and do his thing. At the end of the day, he's still making music. The music still belongs to him, and he's making money. He's earning, and there is a high chance of him getting on the charts or whatever. Just that's what I do. Um, if I play the filling beats, you hear the drums. It's normal like hip hop stuff, and then there's this bass line that is just very dominant in there. That's just different, and I don't know how I came up with that, but like when I played it was like, okay, I think I'll keep
Gods.
this.
The gods.
Yeah. Is it God, right? Yeah. So I knew like when I played that, I was like, okay, this. And then in the beginning, there's these strings. It's just playing, and then it just captures you. Like when you hear it at first before the beat drops, you think, oh, this is like an R&B song or something, and then the next thing the beat drops, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. That surprise element of surprise is also very good too. And then the hook of the song was very, very, very simple and very like straight to the point. It was like, I like the way I'm feeling now. No use your reggae, and I just felt like that was the right moment for it too. All right, so yeah, it's one of the things I do, and for every of my song, my being innovative is me being able to like just combine different elements, different genres together to like make, music. Yeah, yeah. So
So the keyword is fusion.
fusion.
That's your formula.
Yeah, but it does. You could have your own. You could have your own formula. It's not. This is my own formula. You could find what works for you, and just you know put in the work. So yeah. Any other questions? Anybody has any questions?
Questions from somebody other than me.
Yeah.
Because me, I still have questions. But okay.
With patience. Yeah. I mean, I just I don't know, you have to deal with it. You have to be patient. Um, what I do is I just keep working. You just keep working because you make music. If it doesn't feel right, if the artist doesn't feel right about putting that music, there's really nothing you can do at that time. So what you have to do is just keep working, keep creating. While you're waiting for this, another one can enter. And then sometimes when that one enters, the artists that have songs with you that did not want to put out songs before, maybe because for some reasons, when they see that you have like a big song, everybody they start coming back and they want to put out the songs that they have with you. So sometimes that has like an adverse effect on like the songs I've made like in the past. But there's really not much you can do when it comes to patience. Like when you come to like creating stuff and they like people don't want to put it out and you have to wait because you can't go and fight people and say, how far now? Put out this song now. What are you waiting for? I mean, it still has to fit. So if for example, the artist is working on an album or something, and you feel like you have a very good song, that's not enough for them to put out the song because the song has to fit into what the artist is trying to like the message or whatever the idea the artist is trying to convey in that project. So if the project is talking about is more about activism and whatever, and then you guys made like a party song or a love song, it's not going to fit, right? So you have to know, and that's why I said like in the beginning is like just understand where the artist, head is at that moment for you to be able to create because artists are very like they are creative beings. Like they can come and they're on this vibe today and they're on this other vibe tomorrow. And sometimes it can be when it's all over the place, it's also very hard for them to like, be able to put together because then you become confused. What do I want to put out? What do I want? How do I want people to recognize me? How do I want people, like you need to be able to establish yourself with a certain sound and a certain like, I want people to know me for, pop music, or I want people to know me for making love songs or songs about girls. Once you establish yourself that way, people know what to expect from you. So it's like you're a go-to guy for making this kind of music. And then if there are shows or whatever, and shows that are I mean, for every show, I feel like there are certain artists that show promoters will go for, for their type of show with the kind of, show that they're trying to put out there. I don't know the, yeah, their audience basically. So if, for every show, there's an audience, and then there's like a sound that they're expected, so they know the artist to go and meet. So you can't be an artist that you're creating this type of, today you drop this, tomorrow you are doing something like far left, and then there's a disconnect with your fans, because people that are already like, oh, I like this sound, and then like, ah, what are you doing here? So you need to be able to strike a balance, like in middle, and that works.
All right. Still on the concept of patience, yeah. It just seems like you started getting your flowers recently, but I think we want to know how long you've been producing for. You know, basically, how long have you been producing?
Yeah, I've been producing for 17 years. Yeah, 17 years. I think 2005 to now, 17 years. And yeah, yeah, that's patience. Serious patience. Yeah, but in all that time, I mean, I've been working. I won't say I've not done, you know, yeah. But for me, it wasn't even about, I never really thought about the patience thing, because I just knew that for every effort I put into like what I was doing, I was moving in the right direction. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes, but how you're able to circle back and just stay focused is what's important. And I've always had that. I just knew that if this didn't work for me, I have to find another way to get around it and just keep moving. And I just believe that it was going to work out. I never had a problem of people not liking or believing in what I was doing. It was just a matter of I needed to be in the right place, in the right space, and with the right people. And as a creative, whether a musician or a producer, you need to have like, the right people around you, to push you. The right people that would also understand, what you're trying to do, understand your vision. Because, I mean, you have the talent, you might have some skills, but you can't have everything. You still need people to like be able to help you and take what you're doing from this level to the next level. And sometimes you also need people to like to motivate you in a different way. You're motivating yourself, but somebody comes with like something, with his own energy and his own ginger, and that can give you like a new level of, inspiration and something. And just you need to know how to like just be around people and have positive people around you. Have people who, just believe. Not everybody would understand what you're trying to do like fully, but sometimes some people might not understand what you're trying to do, but some people just believe in you. And you should be able to identify that too, and just know how to utilize and use, those people, help you get to like the next level. So for me, one of the things I also did, and this really matters, in making music, is relationships, not just relationships with people like that are just creatives like you, even industry people in the media, people, just people that can help you, like, because for me, when I started, at a point, I kind of like started having like relationship with like people in radio stations, and that helped me a lot. I've never had like, the experience, like a lot of people will come like, oh, I want to play song for radio and these people charge me this and that. I never had that. I think maybe I was lucky, I don't know, but the first time I tried to play my music on the radio, I met the guy that was in charge of like managing the radio station at the time, and then I was in Benin, and I played my stuff for him, and he was impressed and he liked it, and he said they will play my stuff. And then along the line, while they were playing my stuff, I think they invited me for one of their radio shows that they do like every Friday. It was like they called it the house party. So you're live, and then they're just playing, like, do like a countdown. And I was on the radio. One of the guy that still works in the radio, but he wasn't there at the time, made a call while I was on the show and said that, I had assisted him one time, I think 2 years before. Um, and at that time, he was auditioning to get, into the radio station as an intern. And he needed to do like his audition tape and whatever. And I helped him, and I couldn't even remember. It was just, I just helped him. I didn't collect any money and anything. And that kind of like also helped me, right? Because he now became like a strong guy in the radio station. And then because of him, I knew other people. And then I was also producing for like a lot of other people. So like every time someone brought music to the radio station, it was like, it came from Andre Vibez. And this was when I was in Benin. It came from Andre Vibez. So it was like, oh, this guy. So a lot of people trusted what I did. And, these same guys, they moved from Benin, went to other places, other radio stations, came to Lagos. I was here doing my thing, and I would just sit down and opportunities would come from them. So I understood the importance of having people, and people that, are just moving and elevating, building the right relationships with people, what it can do to your career, how it can help you. At some point, I also worked in a radio station for 2 years, and that also did a lot because when I was resigning, I just spoke with my colleague who was like head of like music library, and told him that I was going to leave, that I don't know, I just want to go back and continue making music. And I was like, oh, I have this artist, right? Maybe you should come and meet him and stuff. And then it turned out that artist was Omale. And this was 2019, and then I just made song. At this time, Omale had not even dropped anything that people knew. So it was like, I just did it because, first of all, it was like the love for the music, and I felt like me making music for this guy, and since this radio guy is the one who signed Omale, at least he would get some airplay. I wasn't thinking it was going to explode or, be very big. But 2020 came and everything changed. So my own contribution to Omale's EP also did a lot for my, career as a producer. And it made me, open the doors for like people like in the industry cats, that's strong industry guys that, I would not have had access to before. But because of them hearing my stuff on like one of the biggest projects in 2020, they started reaching out, and I was able to also establish like relationship with them. So all of this matters too in making music, because your song can be great and you don't have people who just they don't mess with you. What are you going to? I mean, you keep struggling, you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you be complaining, and this is, yeah, and you will wait. But sometimes you use people that to get what you want, and also know how to compliment for that. It's not like you're trying to take and take from them. Also know when to give back to people. It's very important. It's very, very important. Yeah.
So, as a music producer, yeah, do you make music with visuals in mind? Let's say, for example, you're working with an artist, and you guys are making the beats. Do you have to sort of discuss the type of visuals that would complement that sound?
Yeah. Sometimes I do that. I used to do it a lot when I just started and when I was younger, but like that has kind of like changed for me because over time, you realize that as you get older, right, in the game, even as years pass, right, a lot of things start to change for you as a person, because one, you're getting older. Each year that you add is like another, you get older, and then a new level of responsibility comes, and the way you create at that time is not the same way you created when you were much younger, when you didn't have like a lot of worries, right? So when I was 20 years old, my level of creativity was, my energy was high. I won't say my level of creativity dropped. It's just different. And then for every time it changed, I knew something changed. Because maybe when I'm trying to do what I was doing before, what I could do before normally, like just easily. I just realized that it's not working that way for me anymore. And then I have to find like a new way to, attack that thing. So back then when I was younger, for every song, in fact, it wasn't even for me. I didn't have to wait for any artist because I was making my music. So while I'm making my beats, I already have it at the back of my head that this is what I'm trying to create because I already have like a concept. So I want to make a song that is a party song, and I already imagined that in the party, in the video, this is how I want, we want to pop bottles here. I want it to be in like I want the location to be like this. So I already envisioned that. So while I have that in my head, I already know what melodies I need to add to give that visuals in my head, that feel. And it even helps me to be able to come up with like a title for what I'm creating. So, and it's just beats, I'm just making the beats. So when I make that and I save it, it's even easy for me to go back because I have something that is connected to it. I have like an idea, a visual or something. And it's easier when you have like, a visual image or something of the sort in your head when you're creating, because that way you know which direction. It's easier for you to know in which direction you're trying to create. It's harder for me these days because if I start to think, if I start to think about like any picture, any image, I might remember that I get one bill for a year to pay, or someone asks me for this and that, or I have to like, meet one deadline or something, and then, I get distracted sometimes. But I mean, if you have that, if you can always have like, visual representation of what you're trying to create, it's good. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Okay. I feel
Good. Coming back now after somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take you a little bit back to something you said much earlier
Yeah.
about your process.
Yeah.
You said you were an arranger as well.
Yeah.
Now that implies that you are more than the regular beat makers, because the regular beat makers are not arrangers.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to ask, what is your process as a beat maker and arranger, composer, and all of that? Do you first of all just make like a beat carcass, and then when the artist comes or the hook comes, you now begin to develop it by way of arrangement into something fuller?
Yeah.
Or the whole beat is ready, then when the singer comes or the artist comes, then you begin to remove elements and walk back. So do you walk forward or you walk backward when the song comes, in terms of arranging?
I would say I walk forward. I don't know if there is anything as walking backward, because even me taking, I get what you're saying, but I think me taking things out doesn't mean I'm walking backward. It still means I'm walking forward, because the end goal was important. It's like, okay, this thing is nice, but I don't think it goes well with what this artist has put on it. Sometimes the artist don't even have to jump on it. Sometimes I create stuff, like you said, you call it a beat carcass. Sometimes I just create stuff and I know that it's not done, but I already like the idea. I already know what it is, and I know I can't go further than that. So what I do is just save it, and then when I feel like I have, sometimes I go back to like beats, unfinished beats, and play them, and then I hear it differently, and then I try to like add other things. Sometimes what I do these days too is I just try to create something not too bogus and not too like, something that just when you hear it, you already know, you get the idea of what I'm trying to do. So it gives the artist like space for him to be like creative, him or her to be creative on. And then when they're done recording, I can now go back and listen to, what I can add to it.
Then the arrangement begins.
Arrangement begins. So, and the arrangement is very important. Trust me, it's a very important part of making music. It's not easy. Some people they don't even know how to arrange. What they make is really nice. You can hear it's nice. You can hear, oh, he played this thing here and it's nice. But sometimes, you just, as nice as it is there, it could be nicer in another place. You just need to be able to identify when to take this part from here and put it here. Sometimes I've played stuff on some beats and they were really nice. I didn't want to let it go. And an idea came. Sometimes it could even be from the artist. They'll tell you that, I think you should take out this thing. And because you as a producer, you feel like it's nice, you are so attached to it, you don't want to let it go.
That's your favorite synth.
Yeah, your favorite synth. Sometimes you have to compromise. Sometimes you need to know when to stand your ground too, right? Sometimes you also need to just understand that this person also has, his own ideas, because it's both of you that are coming together to make this thing. So you need to know when to compromise. We made Running last year, Running, Ladipo, and Fireboy. And the beats that you hear, a lot of people compliment, they say nice things about it. And every time in my head, I'm like, there's one thing that I took out, and I wish I didn't take it out. But it's also nice that I took it out, because now, before the song came out, I always used to feel like this thing should be there. It should be there. It was like a flute in the beginning, it should be there. But when the song finally came out, I now got used to it, and I actually started seeing it different. And then there was one time I went back to like the stems of the song, and then I was playing, I added the flute back, and it just felt off to me, right? So I knew when to compromise on that thing. So arrangement, sometimes you could even help the artist with the arrangement of like their verses, their hooks, choruses, or whatever, or bridge or anything. The artist can do like a 16-bar verse, and it sounds nice. But it's also your job for you to be able to listen out for what that artist has done and know when to say, don't you think maybe we should switch here or take this part out, try something else here. It will sound better. And this, and you should also have be able to convince your artists. I think it should be like a 50-50 thing in the studio, because sometimes artists also have more power, like they can direct how they want, and they can be stubborn, especially when the artist is a big artist. If the artist is a big artist and then you are a producer that's just coming up and whatever, they can intimidate you and you feel like, I never do them. You need to be able to hold your ground too, right? Because one thing, artists are human beings like you, and for everybody who has has achieved something, you always feel that there's this thing on your shoulder. I just feel confident that don't worry, I don't do this thing. But it never really works like that. You still need people. Yeah, every project is new, and people have fresh ideas to bring to it. So it's good to just listen. And yeah, you have a question, bro?
All right, boss. Hello. All right, boss. You actually talked about making a beat simple, song simple.
Simple, yeah.
Okay. How do you handle artists that actually want loads of elements in the songs? As a producer, you've made the beat already, and you actually feel like this beat is already okay, but they actually insist you put more stuff.
Put more stuff.
So how do you manage that?
So what I do sometimes, I'll listen to them and add what they want me to add. I just add it for them to see and hear it. And but I also want you to understand that adding more things doesn't mean that a beat is not simple. In fact, some of the simplest beats have a lot of things in there. And it still comes back to the arrangement of the sounds. It's how you stack them up too that matters. there might be a lot of things. When you check the stems, you see that there are over like 30 or 40 stems. And then you think, but this beat doesn't sound full. It doesn't sound like it's choked up. Yeah, because one, choice of instruments is very important. Choice of instruments is very important. And you also need to know how to balance and mix your beats. Sometimes some things you play that are nice. I know I had faced this issue before when I just started. When I play something and it's very nice, I want it to be on top. I want it to be there. Let everybody hear it. It doesn't have to be loud. It can be there. It plays a role in there. And if you know, as low as it is, if you take it out, you will notice that there's something has changed in the beat. Some things are just meant to be there. It's like it complements the other instruments out there. But you need to know when to add and when not to add. I mean, that's your discretion. Is your discretion, is not mine. Because for me, I would listen. I actually listen to the artist a lot. I like whatever ideas you have, let's put it. I know they like saying, I mean, no pass. Let's add it. And when we add it, if I don't like it, I will now tell the artist in a very, just try to tell him that, well, this thing I don't think is okay. You know what? Let's play for another person. Let's sample it for this person. I'll play the former one. This is how it was, and this is how this one was. What do you think? And then sample at least 3 or 4 or 5 different people. If the same people keep saying going with the artist on, fine. Let's leave it. That means people like it. If the other higher number likes my own, I'm like, okay. Then if maybe half of them, 50% of them like my part and 50%, we'll look for a tiebreaker. If we don't find it, then we'll find a level ground. I'll say, okay, let's do with this. I'll keep this part of my own. You keep this part of your own, but we'll have to agree to take out this part, and that's what we'll do. But the thing is that at the end of the day, all these things we're making, I know we're trying to make them to make us give our best, to the people who are going to listen to it. But these people don't know these things. They don't know these things. You're still going to drop this song, and they're still going to like it regardless. If it's a good song, if people are going to like the song, before the song is mixed or mastered or whatever, from the minute you drop your verse or your hook, you can already tell that this song is a good song, right? You still have to put in effort in making sure that post-production, mixing and mastering, everything is on point. But sometimes when you even over-add, these people don't hear all these things. The normal listener, they don't know all these things. It's only guys that are in production like you and people that are music enthusiasts that understand this thing that will say, oh, more, you hear what that guy play for there. But a lot of all these guys, they just know that they like it, and that's it. Sometimes you don't overthink all these things too. Another thing I would also encourage, I think we need to start building the culture for that. It's one of the ways to take your music or whatever you're doing to the next level. I know we're so used to trying to do everything ourselves and own everything, right, to ourselves, but collaborations are very, very key. Are very good. As producers, I'm not even talking of artists now, because I mean the same method has been applied with the artists. You can see a lot of collaborations happen, and it even blows the song bigger than if it was just one person, right? Because as an artist, the artist will probably get a few more fans from this other person's camp, and that other person will get new fans. Same thing, production. I could collaborate with you, and I've probably made the beat already. The beat can fly like that, but sometimes okay, maybe I just need to have another person approach this thing. It could come, and you would always get a fresh new idea. You would always get a fresh new idea. No matter how dope my beat is, if I give it to another producer, he will add something that is just like, oh, I didn't think, because I never thought of that, but he thought of it. I was able to create this thing to this level, and you just see that, oh, this thing, I think I should put it here. And he put it there, and I'm like, I actually like it. It's good. And tomorrow, depending on the level of the producer too, you might get more placements by doing that. That's helped me too. Like I've done stuff. I started making like big songs, and then I started having like international producers that people actually look up to, hit me up, like send me a message and, oh, let's get in, let's do this, let's do that, or send me loops, or I'll send you loops. They send me loops or send me like stuff. What do you think? Can you add this? And I'll add my own part, and then they like it. I'm like, cool. And tomorrow, these songs come out. I have credits. I have production credits in there because yes, I'm part of a producer. I have production credits. My publishing, my catalog is it's getting bigger and stuff. So you also need to know when to just collaborate with people, and you never know. You never know really.
Okay, I want to take you back a little bit to something you just glossed over. You know, I want you to elaborate a bit because I think it's really important, right? You said something about knowing how to choose your sounds, right? I want to expand that a bit to just say your tools. How do tools affect the creative process, hardware and software? I mean, you come from way back. Nobody's going to tell you to produce with General MIDI now. No matter how brilliant the creative idea and all of that, if you're using General MIDI now or Reason 4, I don't think it will sound exactly the same thing with whatever tools you are using now, right? You're using Reason. Are you using Reason?
It's relative.
It's relative.
Yeah.
So can you just give us some insight into the tools you use to make all these wonderful hits?
I mean, so far right now, I still work with FL Studio. It's very, for me, I find it as one of like, it's easy to navigate. It's easy to understand. I mean, I understood it like a long time. It's just easy for me to be able to do and experiment on whatever like I'm trying to like experiment on with FL Studio. But at the same time, I use Reason. I say Reason. I use Logic rather. I've used Reason. I've used like literally almost every workstation. I think the one I've not like really explored is Ableton Live, but I've checked it out a couple of times. But I mainly use FL Studio and Logic. So I use Logic to take my vocals, and then I use FL Studio to make my beats. But I don't think it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you use. It's the individual who is using it.
Patches. What about your patches?
My patches. I mess with a lot of things. There's no particular thing. So today I'm using this, and tomorrow I'm trying something new. I don't like to stay too long on one stuff because that way the sound doesn't remain the same, right? Because there is a base element to what I do. So the base element is like my approach to creating, right? But I like to move on from doing the same thing for a very long period of time because people would tend to get tired of you doing the same thing. After a while, they will like it, and then if you're not changing, if you're not switching, it becomes old to their ears and normal, and some other new guy will come and has something like fresh, to give them, and they will all move on to that. So I mean, for you to still be relevant, just be able to know when to switch. I'm not saying you should totally lose all of that because, I mean, I think if people hear my beats from now and hear what I've made like years back, you can still tell that it's still the same person that made this. I have like my own way of doing it, but there's always something that has to change. So there's this for me, my this thing is from 6 months or at least 1 year. I like to just take some time off, maybe like 1 month off. I'm still working in between, but like that 1 month off, I'm trying to like figure out new ways, a new approach, on how, I'm trying to create at that time.
Research and development.
Research and development, basically. I listen to sometimes, so when I'm doing that, I listen to what's hot at that moment, or stuff from the past. There's inspiration everywhere. Everywhere. There's inspiration everywhere. Sometimes I just go back and listen to like old music from the 40s and the 50s. A lot of people don't do that right now. And I'll do that, I'll listen to it, and I'll be able to apply that into what I'm doing. People now, especially like the young kids, young cats, the Gen Zs, that don't even really care to even listen. They don't even listen to music from the 2000s. Not talk of, the 90s, 80s, 70s. So if I add what I've taken from, like, elements I've taken from there and put it now, it will sound fresh to them, like, oh, yeah, how did you think of this? But, like, yeah. But yeah, and that's another thing. You need to get yourself educated on any field that you find yourself, especially in music. Because you make music and because you feel like you are talented or you have the skill, doesn't mean that you can be stagnant, right? But you need to keep constantly educating yourself on what's new, and it's not only music that's going to give you that. Like, in fact, every other thing around you helps you to educate yourself, because some years back I was able to, like, learn that even just watching movies sometimes has helped me a lot, because I'll just watch a movie and see how a scene was done and how they approach this, and somehow I'm able to apply that same knowledge to my own approach on making music. Because the movie made me feel a certain way. It brought out, like, some type of emotion from me or expression from me. So I was like, how do I achieve this, while making, music? And then, I had to find a way to make that. So I feel like there are some songs I just do, like, oh, at this point, I want these people to feel this thing, or this thing will just, catch them unawares. Like, it just comes, I just put in this sound, and then why they are thinking it's going to, like, go, I just take it out again, and then they are looking for more again, like they're looking for it to come back, then I'll bring it back, like, towards the end. And then, so that it kind of like gets you glued, because you've listened to this song, and it's not boring. You hear that part, and I take it out, and you want to hear it again. And yes. I'm creating drama. I'm creating, like, a crescendo. It's like something starts like this. You want people to feel, a climax. Like, you start something and then it goes like this and it takes them here, instead of starting like this and bringing them down. I don't think anything that starts like this and comes down, people want to go back to it. Right? People want to go back to it. It's like getting a high. Like, for people who smoke or drink or whatever, it's like they always want to go back because it gives them that high. So it's like you start from here and you take it here. So I always try to, like, get that and try to achieve that in my stuff. I also watch, like, apart from movies, I watch documentaries, I watch stuff, just learn, because you could pick something up from there, just history or something, and it will just bring out something in you. It's like I watch, like, the great stink of England. This happened like about 300 years ago, and I watched it, and it was just stories and stuff, and I learned, like, new stuff, and then I started making research, and in that process you're learning, you're just picking stuff, you're picking words too that will just help you, and then words that will make you, because there are some times when you're learning, you pick things that will make you understand some things that you didn't even really understand, you never were not able to figure out. So I'm also able to identify all those moments when, I learn new stuff, and then it just opens my mind to, like, new stuff. I'm like, oh wow, I can feel myself from this level to, like, this point. Like, I always feel it when something happens, like, take myself from here to here. Yeah.
So, speaking about movies, do you see yourself going into sound composition, original sound composition for, movies?
Yeah. I see myself doing that, but I don't know when. I just feel like if that's going to happen, it will happen at the right time. For now, I'm focused on the music. I'm focused on like making more songs, beefing up my catalog. Regardless of if I have like 3 to 4 hits now, it's not enough. It's still more because the goal is for you, or the goal is for me, to make as much music and as much, music with the right people as possible, that even when I stop or when I'm not doing it as much, I'm still going to be eating from it, right? I'm still going to be eating from it. And when I do my time on earth, my children can still eat from it. Yes, yes. So yeah, that's the goal. So yeah, I'm very. I think there are a lot of things I want to do, but I just feel like everything's about timing. And when that time comes, I would maybe probably just start doing all of that. But yeah, that's about it. So, um, so I think I've covered like the few things that I've been able to cover. Like I said, you can also educate yourself on things. You don't have to wait for people to like tell you or tell you everything or teach you everything. Like you could just go out there. All the information is out there for you to use. Um, you have stuff like YouTube and all of that, so you could learn new stuff. You could study, like, just listen to songs, music these artists or people put out, and just listen to it. And I mean, as a creative, you can hear something and be like, I like this thing. How did this person do this? And try to replicate or try to like, do something that you feel like will top it. There's no wrong in doing that. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys.